What is going on? We are back live. What's today's date? It's September 14th, 2025, man. We're moving through this year. We're almost half of the way through September. On Sunday, I was having some technical difficulties, man. I meant to start this thing 15 minutes ago. However, I had to kind of work through some technical difficulties. We finally got things taken care of, and I am back. For a minute there, I probably was going to not do this, but I had to do it. So, man, we want to shout out to Guardian, man. Guardian caps. I know it's football season. Go get your Guardian cap. This is actually the 707 version that I'm rocking around my neck here, but they have them also for the helmets as well. I'm rocking, showing a little love to Lee and Aaron Hansen. They were on the show about a year or so ago, so go check out that interview and go support Guardian cap. Hey, we all trying to be healthy, man, and this is one of the ways that a lot of athletes are doing that these days, whether, like I said, you're playing 707 or you are playing tackle football. So go check out Guardian Cap. We got a full show for you guys lined up. Let's see, though. We have Buy It Now, the Buy It Now episode of the week. I think this week Shark Tank comes back. So I'll be kind of doing more of the Shark Tank reaction videos as well as reaching out to the Shark Tank guests to try to get them on to tell their journey. But this week is probably going to be the last week of the Buy It Now. And then I think Shark Tank comes on. Starts maybe this week. I don't know if it's Wednesday or Friday, whatever the case may be. We'll figure it out. But going forward, it will be those Shark Tank reaction videos. So we do have that. We have Midjourney was sued by Warner Brothers for AI. So I'm bringing you guys the latest and the greatest with regard to this artificial intelligence and these AI companies being sued by the Warner Brothers, the Disneys, these kind of legacy companies, if you will, for kind of intellectual property infringement, whether that's copyright or trademark. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We have 50 Cent. 50 Cent has the rights to the film, the classic film, I might add, paid in full. So we'll hear what 50 Cent has to say about it. We'll hear what Dame Dash has to say about it. Then I'll give you guys my thoughts on that. The interview of the week, Storm Bag, Maurice Huffman. He was on Shark Tank. So we'll play a couple minutes of that interview, or a clip of that interview, I should say. And then I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts on it. And then what do we have here? What do we have with Tesla? Seems like that kind of $1 trillion pay package. I did a kind of a longer clip with this, but I do want to really talk about that Tesla video, or the, Tesla and their pay package that they just offered Elon Musk, $1 trillion pay package, and really what that means for everybody, what that means to society. Again, as part of that pay package, he's coming out with 1 million robots. He's coming out, I think they have to sell, I don't know if it's 20 million vehicles. I think it's 20 million vehicles. But I think around they have to sell a few million self-driving vehicles. So I kind of let you guys know how that will affect us. Then we'll round out, or Isaac. I am going to hit Isaac Hayes III. I kind of, when I was at InvestFest, I didn't go this past year, but when I went in 2024, I actually ran into Isaac Hayes III and his app fan base. Seems like he kind of was on a podcast talking about inventorship, particularly Black inventorship, that I did want to kind of talk about and kind of share my comments. And then we'll end with Snoop Dogg double jizzle. It seems like him and his company has sued a company for trademark infringement. So we will talk about that here. So let's kind of get off into it. But actually, before we get off into it, man, go check out. I do want to kind of plug some of this stuff. The ebook, Got IP. I actually had a few orders of that this week. Somebody from the East Coast, a couple people from the East Coast ordered it. So go check out that ebook, Got IP. The link should be down in the comment section. And again, I'm essentially taking you through it from soup to nuts, from kind of how do you come up with an ideal all the way to monetizing that ideal and everything in between. It's kind of giving you a boatload of information. So go check out that ebook. And then I'm wearing a shirt, Peace, Love, Intellectual Property. Actually, the shirt that's for sale is way better quality than the shirt that I have on. So go check out that as well. That link should be in the comment section for to go purchase that shirt, Peace, Love, Intellectual Property. To the extent that you're a business owner, hey, man, this is going to serve as natural advertising and marketing for your company. I get stopped all the time in these shirts, and you will too. So definitely go check out that. Go support and purchase. Let's see here, man. We're going to start out with the, I don't want to call it the BS, but I do want to start out with Isaac Hayes III. And he's been in the news a lot. I guess him, because again, part of this intellectual property, his dad, I think, has the song Hold On I'm Coming, which he inherited because, again, copyrights last for the life of the author plus 70 years. So when his dad, Isaac Hayes, passed away, he actually got rights to all the intellectual property through his pop's estate. And I think Donald Trump when he was back on the campaign trail back in 2024, and he was playing that song, Hold On, I'm Coming. Isaac Hayes in a state sued Donald Trump. So Isaac Hayes III has been in the news for that. Like I said, he has his app called Fanbase. I do want to plug the app, so go check out that. But on this video, Isaac Hayes is really kind of talking to someone. I'm not sure who the interview is, but he's talking about how African Americans inventors have invented pretty much everything. So I do want to kind of give my commentary on that, and kind of go from there. So let's go here. Let's see what Isaac Hayes III is talking about. I want to blow it up a little bigger than this. Let's see here. Here we go.
Of Donald Trump talking about how great American innovation is, and everything that he named that America in.
And again, you got to keep in mind he has sued Donald Trump multiple times, and let's just say, for the record, he's definitely not a big Donald Trump fan. So it seems like recently Donald Trump was going out and saying how we as America has invented everything, and Isaac Hayes is talking about, hey, all that stuff Donald Trump was saying, who as far as America invented everything, that was also all that stuff was invented by Black people. So that's kind of where this interview picks up. Let's go.
Invented. It was a Black person that invented it.
This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything.
Bro, Black people did all that. We innovate and create everything. And so it's just par for the course of what happens with Black innovation. I'm big on protecting your IP, but a lot of times you just
protect that intellectual property. I will agree with him on that one. I am also big, Isaac, on protecting the intellectual property. Let's go.
You're creating and you want to be creative. But I think this is just another version of what happens when Black people make something. When it comes to rock and roll music, we've invented the ice cream scoop, ice cream. The alarm.
We did invent ice cream. Yeah, I found that out like a couple of
years ago. The alarm system, macaroni and cheese,
plasma,
yeah. The hot comb. There's a list of so many inventions and creations by Black people.
What is left?
Well, that was pretty much the interview. Now I do want to kind of give my 2 cents. Number one, man, he is right. Partly, where back then, again, the patent system has lasted for a long time, but back then when you're talking about the 1800s, early 1900s, and, Black people at that point in time was, I think, 3/5 of a person. So to think that you're going to have intellectual property, that was a foreign concept. So it happened a lot, unfortunately, where the inventions that were invented by Black people were taken, and they did not get their just due. Not only kind of saying, hey, this person invented them until much later, but they didn't get the financial compensation, or more importantly, the ownership of that invention, or whatever the case may be. And this is why I'm so big on. I don't want to kind of make this a divisive issue on kind of a Black versus white thing. I think it's much kind of bigger than that. But I do want to acknowledge and agree with them in that back 1900s, 1800s. Black people invented a lot of things, and it was taken, unfortunately. But I think now in 2025, this is not that. In 2025, you can get the rights to your stuff. So really, the big unfortunateness, or the biggest thing that you cannot do is protect your intellectual property. Because in 2025, you can invent something, you can create something, you can start something, and you can protect that thing by way of a trademark, by way of patents, by way of copyright. So I think the biggest knock or the downfall of, I would say, if anything, making this from a Black versus white thing, not necessarily a Black versus white thing, but from the African-American community. And this is one of the reasons why I do this podcast, is to come on here and talk about these different stories in the intellectual property news, and let you know how important it is, not only from an ownership standpoint, but from a financial compensation standpoint, to protect your intellectual property. I had an interview was going to come out October 1st, so actually in a couple weeks, Lonnie Johnson, inventor of the Super Soaker. And this guy was a phenomenal guy. He's down in the ATL, and he invented, like I said, invented the Super Soaker, I think in the 90s or 90s. And he was paid from his stuff, but they kind of shortchanged him. And he just recently, over the last I think year or so, the company who he had the licensing deal with, they had to end up paying him $80 million because they shortchanged the royalty. But a big part of that whole situation happened as a result of Lonnie Johnson having a patent or owning the IP with regard to his product, which is which in that case was a super soaker. He went on to invent the Nerf gun. He did a lot of stuff as a NASA engineer. He's killing it with solid state battery technology now down in Atlanta. So this guy is a very accomplished, well accomplished, impressive guy. But now in 2025 and even kind of back 2010, 2000, early 2000s, you can invent something and you can protect it now. So the biggest hit or the biggest knock on, I think, the African American culture is kind of just really getting hit with the times. I think it is people doing it in isolated events in terms of protecting something, but I think the overall message that Isaac Hayes III was saying in that video is Black people, yeah, we did invent a lot of stuff. And it was back in the 1900s and the 1800s where, again, we were slaves. We weren't even considered a full person. So you're not going to get rights, or you're not going to get kudos for you inventing something. It was going to be taken. But in 2025, it's no longer the case. You can protect something. We invented stuff, and we're not even protecting it these days. So I guess our ancestors of yesteryear, they'd be pissed off that they went through all that. They invented stuff. They, were great people of their time. And as of today, we still are not kind of taking advantage of the system and kind of protecting our IP and making money off of it and being able to pass it down generationally, unless it's copyrights. And even then, we're signing the copyrights over to the music and they kind of feeding their families from it. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Go check out the Isaac Hayes III, his video, because I thought it was interesting for those just joining us. I just had played Isaac Hayes III. He was on his podcast. I'm not going to play it again, but I do want to pull it up here. Isaac Hayes III was on his podcast and he was talking about how like a week or so ago, Donald Trump was saying how we as Americans invented everything. And Isaac Hayes III, which is not a big fan of Donald Trump, was saying that all the stuff that Donald Trump named was created by Black people or invented by Black people. And again, a lot of stuff back then was invented by Black people, and times were different because they didn't get the rights to it or the ownership of it. But in 2025, when we as Black people, African American people, can protect something, whether it's a trademark, whether it's a copyright, whether it's a patent, whether it's a trade secret, you need to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to do it and kind of really changing the narrative, man, because it's no use to continue to talk about it. At some point, we have to kind of protect what we invented and kind of hopefully be able to build that generational wealth. Let me go on to the next subject here, and that next subject is sandbag. So this guy, Maurice Hoffman, man, I'm gonna pull up this interview, but and it's an interview that just came out that I did with Maurice this week. This guy was on, and this guy, listen, this is how impressive this guy is. He was on Shark Tank last season. Thankfully, I was able to interview him. He was saying, I don't think it's this clip, but in the interview, he was saying how when he went on Shark Tank that same night, he sold 50,000 storm bags. Now, what he has is, like the big sandbags, but his thing is called a sandless sandbag. So it doesn't have sand in it, but when you hit water, gets on it, it inflates kind of based on a kind of proprietary technology in it. And it can block floods and do a number of different things. It can even water your plants. So I do want to kind of pull up this interview where Maurice was talking about it, and then I kind of continue to give you guys my thoughts. Let's go.
Next thing you know, they're telling us it's airing, and the thing airs.
Hold on. What's going on? What is going on? What is going on? There we go. Let me get that out of there. There we go. Let's get back to the interview.
And I'm not kidding you. We sold exactly 50,000 bags that night.
Really?
I mean, these guys know what they're talking about. They're professionals all the way.
Wow.
They have statistics and they know what they're talking about. And we sold 50,000 bags that night. Didn't have to share the profit with them because we didn't make a deal. So they were really nice that they told us we can handle our business well, and that they, it was really awesome of them to, I thought. And maybe it was also seemed complicated to separate the businesses for them. And, they don't want to, if they have so many deals, they don't want to complicate one, I would imagine.
So that was Maurice Hoffman. That interview just dropped this week. He was talking about how he actually was on Shark Tank. He did, for those of you who don't know, when you get a deal on Shark Tank, a lot of those deals fall through. In other words, they don't happen. So Maurice Hoffman was saying how I think he did a deal with Mark Cuban and I think Lori, but it fell through, meaning that, for whatever reason, negotiations, the terms, they just couldn't come to an agreement. So that deal fell through. But that same night of him airing, they sold 50,000 units of his Storm bag, his product, and essentially he was able to keep the product. So shout out to Maurice Hoffman, man. He's an older guy, but he's a cool guy, and he's been through some stuff out. He stays out in California, so go check out that full interview. Let me know. I see we have a couple people here. Let me know where you guys from, and to the extent that you guys have a question related to intellectual property, whether it's trademarks, copyrights, or patents, let me know. This is probably the only time this week that you're going to talk to an intellectual property attorney or be able to ask them a question for free and get an answer. Again, your boy billing rate is almost $400 an hour. However, I am willing to answer questions here for free. So shouts out, go check out that interview with Maurice, because like I said, man, him being able to build a business, this guy has traveled the world. He got a business that he runs with his son out in California. They done been through some stuff. I'm talking about house burned down, had to start all over, but he's still kind of kicking in, and he's doing some big thing. I think his bag is now kind of being sold overseas in Europe. So he's kind of doing some big things. So shout out to Maurice as we move on. And I do want to kind of talk about the buy it now. Like I said, this is the last day. I mean, next week I'll start talking about, or this upcoming week, I'll start talking about a Shark Tank, because Shark Tank comes back on. But I do want to talk about the product that I thought was cool from Buy It Now. For those of you who don't, Buy It Now is pretty much like a Shark Tank. It's similar to Shark Tank. It comes on Amazon. It's Amazon's show, really, Prime Video show, and it's similar to Shark Tank, but it's more of a gamified feel where JB Smoove is the host, similar like to Steve Harvey with Family Feud, and you have business owners come there pitching to a live audience, and then if they get enough people to say from that live audience that they buy the product, then it goes over to, they go to the panel, and they need 2 out of the 3 panel members to say their product is good for their product to go onto Amazon's exclusive Buy It Now store. So that's essentially the I guess the layout of the show. But man, she Invisawear, and I'm gonna show you exactly what it is here. So this is a bracelet, and man, this lady, she was impressed. She's only 29 years old. Her name is Raja. Her parents immigrated here from Egypt, and this is a bracelet that doubles as a safety device. So when you can press it, so you can see here, this is her web page that I'm at, and it's a necklace. You see it's a necklace. You can see it's a bracelet, and it's really for women that if you guys get into a bind, it's a button on a bracelet you can press, and essentially it alerts the authorities to to come and making sure everything is good. So this is essentially what it is. You can tell, like I said, it can be a necklace, it can be a bracelet, it can be a keychain, heck, a fitness band, and it seems like men can wear it too, but I think more times than not, it's really for women. And come on, man, what's going on? But again, she has 3 million people. This is what I was looking for. She has 3 million people in her community. And apparently they offer self-defense class. So join our community of over 3 million people. So she has 3 million people that has bought this thing. And man, she's crushing the game. So shouts out to Raja. And that's one of the things. She started this business, I think, when she's like mid-20s. She's 29 now. And this is a multi-million-dollar business. ADT, which is the alarm security company, they are partnered with her. And she's doing some amazing things. And like I said, she has 3 million subscribers within her community for her bracelet, her essentially jewelry that doubles as a safety device. So go check that out. Again, phenomenal product. I'm gonna reach out to her to try to get her on the program, but she's big time. Shout out. The name of the company is Invisawear. So that's the name of the company. Go check Raja out as we move on here. Let's see here. Where do I want to go with next? I want to go with your boy 50. It's 50. You know, man, 50 is always in the news for one thing or another. Let's see here. Here we go. This is it. So 50, for those of you who don't know, he just recently bought the rights to Paid in Full. And I did more of a full breakdown on this, but having the rights to Paid in Full is important. And I'm actually show you his tweet, and then I'm also show you what Dame Dash said. Dame Dash, you could tell he had some hurt in his eyes when I play that video. You kind of feel bad for him, but essentially Paid in Full, which we all know is a classic film. It was owned by Dame Dash and Rockefeller. Seems like Dame Dash has been going through some legal issues. I think he just filed for personal bankruptcy again based on a $25 million debt. And he essentially, it seems like somehow 50 Cent has got the rights or the copyright to the film Paid in Full. And let's see what 50 Cent says his plans is for the film. He says, look it, now have the rights to Paid in Full. I'm developing it into a premium TV show. If you like Godfather of Harlem, you're going to love this. Cam is set to executive produce alongside me. If you want in, get at him. I'm out the country. So that's essentially what 50 Cent said on his social media this past week for him acquiring the rights to Paid in Full. And the interesting thing about this is, a lot of people don't know this, when you have that copyright, you have what is called the rights to develop derivative works. So we all know Paid in Full is a film, a movie, but he can make it into a TV show and own those rights because, again, he owns the right to Paid in Full as the original copyright. He can have stage shows. Think of like the Tyler Perry going doing plays or whatever the case may be. 50 Cent may do that later down the line. So having that original copyright is extremely important. And it seems like your boy 50 has got the rights to the Paid in Full. Hey, 50, we all know he's the king of petty. And it seems like Cameron, who's also the king of petty, he partnering with Cameron to executive produce this show. And I thought Cameron and Dame Dash was a little bit more cooler than that, but see, I guess we got to use that word loosely these days. Let's see what your boy Dame Dash is saying. You can tell Dame Dash was hurt on this one. I kind of felt bad for him, but hey, man, at some point you had $100 million. You can't feel too bad. Let's see what Dame Dash talking about.
Cam just made a post, major announcement. I want to congratulate him for making 50 his new boss. So congratulations, Cam. 50 is now your new boss, and you're proud of it. Congratulations, my nigga.
Excuse the language. Seems like Cameron also had a post. I'm not going to go through that post, but that's your boy. Let me know in the chat. Do you guys think that Dame Dash was hurt? Man, he seemed hurt over that one. I will say that. He did seem hurt over that one. I disagree with what he is saying in terms of, hey, you're proud that 50 Cent is your new boss. Number one, man, we all have a boss. If you got a business, your boss is your customers. If you are going to corporate America, your boss is whoever your superior is, your manager, your direct report, whatever the case may be. If you're at a law firm, your boss is your the companies who are paying you to protect their intellectual property. So again, I think Dame is going to die on this hill of the boss and not having a boss. Me, in my opinion, I think to the extent that until you can kind of do your own thing exclusively, to do both, have a boss and make the money, but also kind of pour that into your business. And I think everybody should be doing that, regardless if you're super successful or not. So I just disagree with kind of Dame's perspective on having a boss and being happy about it and thinking, like, I think if Dame would have had a boss, he would have been better off at this point. That's my personal opinion. And I mean, that doesn't take away from anything that Dame Dash has done. But all this kind of boss talk and being happy and just kind of clowning people who have a boss, I think that's some BS. And I think, like I said, that's a big part of why he's in the reason that he in a situation that he's in. And me going back what I was talking about, having a boss or kind of trying to do this, having a boss, but also kind of pouring into your business. I think we all gonna have to do that at some point, and we all should be doing that because the robots are coming. As we move on to our next one, $1 trillion. Seems like Tesla's board has proposed a pay package for Elon Musk of $1 trillion. So essentially, if Musk hit these milestones over the next 10 years, he will be the first trillionaire, which is crazy to think that one person will have $1 trillion. Not to be honest with you, I think between Starlink and so SpaceX, all these other companies must have, he will probably be a trillionaire way before 10 years. But let's kind of play this. I do want to play this video so that you guys can see what Musk has to do to get this $1 trillion and how that's going to affect all of us. So this is a video from Bloomberg that I'm going to kind of pull up and play. And then I'm going to come and give you my thoughts on this is why you guys should be trying to start a business or at least invest in yourselves outside of your 9-to-5, because, man, in 10 years, this world gonna look a lot different.
But I think what they're looking for by 2035 is really juice up that market cap to 8.5 trillion. And if you look at the operational targets that's tied to it, it definitely confirms that this company is moving towards AI, robotics, robo-taxi.
So this guy is saying that, number one, part of Elon Musk pay packages, he has to get the company to an $8.5 trillion valuation in 10 years to get that $1 trillion. But then he's talking about, more important for our sake, that Tesla is moving towards artificial intelligence, robo-taxis, robotics, self-driving vehicles, all that stuff. So let's continue to see what he has to say about the particulars or the milestones that Elon Musk has to hit in order to get that $1 trillion.
What are some of the hurdles that are out there?
The hurdles,
for
as they
Mr.
call
Musk
them.
to maybe eventually get this taken
Yeah.
package?
You know, it's not going to be easy for him, and it's probably designed to be that way so that it make sure the shareholders will vote for the proposal. Don't make it too easy for him. So the easy lift is really 20 million vehicle delivery. That's going to be a no-brainer, easy to get to, given that it ships about 1.8 million a year already. But the tough part is really.
So it seems like Tesla currently ships $1.8 million. 1.8 million vehicles, and they need to ship in 10 years 20 million vehicles to hit that first milestone. According to this guy, it seems like that's going to be a no-brainer for Tesla and Elon Musk.
Really a 50% take rate on FSD, the full self-driving, and 1 million shipments on robots.
These are the ones that I think more so affects us. They're talking about, and I have to break it back all by myself because I think that's all I wanted to play on that. He has to do FSD is he has to have 1 million, or I think 50% a take rate on the vehicle. So half of the vehicles that he sells have to be self-driving. And I know we got a lot of people doing Uber these days and Lyft. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people doing Uber and Lyft trying to make extra money. And just think about this. In 10 years, it's going to be, at least according to, if Elon Musk hit all these milestones, it's going to be millions of self-driving vehicles on the road. Who do you think those self-driving vehicles are going to take the jobs from? If taxi think they were upset because of Uber and Lyft, I think all of them are going to be upset if you get self-driving vehicles kind of taking people to and from places. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of people would prefer to have the self-driving vehicle so they don't have to talk to the driver. So again, but ultimately what I'm saying that's going to affect people's jobs. And then he talked about 1 million robots. Man, every time I see robot, man, I kind of shake my head like, man, this movie is coming more and more true. We're all essentially kind of running to our doomsday, but I guess we got to have fun while we're doing it. But 1 million robots, just think about that. What jobs do you think those 1 million robots are going to be taking? Going to be taking human jobs. I was actually with a prospective client having lunch on Wednesday, and we were talking about this in terms of what things are going to look like in the next 5 or 10 years and what jobs are going to be kind of safe. Definitely skilled tradesmen. We kind of both agreed that robots are probably not going to do that. But then we also said probably doctors, even though doctors will still be around just because, again, they're a doctor. You need that human element, although I think robots will play a factor in that, as well as lawyers. I think lawyers, especially like trial attorneys, where you got to go argue in front of a judge, jury, all that stuff, I think those are not going anywhere. I think robots are not going to take those jobs, but it's still going to affect lawyers as well. So again, these robots are going to, AI in general is going to change the way we all living in the next 5 or 10 years. So what I'm saying is, you better try to start to come up with a product. Because another thing that I mentioned to this guy is like, hey man, if you come up with a business, develop a product, run your business, then I think you are probably going to be safe from AI. Not only are you going to be safe from AI, I think you are able to leverage artificial intelligence to help you out. For those just joining, we're talking about how this $1 trillion pay package from Tesla to Elon Musk is going to change all our lives. They're talking about Elon Musk having to roll out 1 million robots, millions of self-driving cars, and how that's going to affect everyday people. We thinking, people who's working in a factory and doing this and doing that. Man, these robots and these self-driving cars is going to change the game. And I'm trying to help you guys get out ahead of it, start that business, protect that intellectual property, and hey man, just try to enjoy yourself before doomsday here. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. Let's see. Do I want to do that? I'm gonna skip that one. We're gonna finish up with your boy D.O. Jizzle. Snoop Dogg. Hey, look at Snoop Dogg has got the memo. He got a whole ton of things. Some work, some don't work, but he has recently sued a company. I think he owns this one with his wife, if I had to guess. But Snoop Dogg and his own company has sued someone for trademark infringement. I'm going to pull up this lawsuit. We're going to read it really quickly. Then we're going to get you guys up out of here. I know we got a 8:20 football game, so I don't want to keep people from Destiny, but I did want to bring you guys what Snoop Dogg was kind of Essentially, he's protecting his intellectual property. So you got to respect Snoop for that. Let's see here. So this comes out of New York. Boss Lady Foods, which is Snoop Dogg's company, and Edible IP, Edible Brands, and Edible Arrangement. The one thing I did notice with Edible Brands and Edible Arrangements, it seems like these two are the operation companies, and Edible IP is the company that owns all the intellectual property. So that's what, if I had to guess, that's why I would think is the kind of how they are going about this. But Boss Lady Foods, and I think Snoop Dogg calls his wife Boss Lady, if I'm not mistaken. So shouts out to Snoop Dogg. Let's kind of get off into it and kind of go from there. So it seems like Boss Lady Foods LLC, Delaware company that has its business located in New York. Then defendants are they're kind of from everywhere. Defendants Edible IP is from Connecticut. Edible Brands is from Delaware. I guess they got it's an LLC in Delaware, but they have their business in Atlanta. Edible Brands and Edible Arrangements are both kind of doing business in Atlanta, but they had their business in Delaware, or original incorporated in Delaware. So let's go here. Let's go to the facts. Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. Anything that has the word swizzle or nizzle or mizzle, that's probably Snoop Dogg. So it seems like the development of the Tropical Sherbet Swizzle mark. This is the whole kind of more or less the whole case of kind of this mark and whether or not it can be protected and whatsoever. So it seems like Sam Rockwell and Justin Samuels founded Waffle Waffle. Seems like they're doing business as Happy Company in 2009. Let me know if you guys heard of Waffle Waffle or Happy Company. Apparently, they make consumer goods. They founded in 2009, so what, 16 years ago, to make healthy, affordable, and authentic food available to all. Happy Company develops and sells highly successful products under in connection with multiple well-known brands in the frozen food space. So it seems like they operate in the frozen food space. Most relevant for the present case, Happy partner in 2023 with Calvin Cordozar Brodus, aka Snoop Dogg, the legendary rapper, actor, comedian, entrepreneur, to found Boss Lady, a venture dedicated to furnishing high-quality food products reflecting Snoop Dogg's unique style and sensibilities. So it seems like Happy Company partnered with Snoop Dogg to essentially found Boss Lady. And like I said, I think Snoop Dogg calls his wife Boss Lady. Correct me if I'm incorrect on that. So Boss Lady flagship product is Dr. Bombay, which is frozen desserts. Among the many successful Dr. Bombay ice cream and sherbet products is Tropical Sherbet Swizzle, TSS. We're going to call this the TSS mark. I actually like saying a Tropical Sherbet Swizzle, but we'll call it TSS for short, which comprises a tub of orange sherbet with tropical pineapple flavor swirled solely widely through brick and mortar and online retail channels. So they seem like they sell them in stores and physical stores as well as online. Conceived as a play on the both Tropical Swizzle stick, a Swizzle stick. You guys have to let me know in the comments. Have you guys had this Dr. Bombay ice cream that's owned by Snoop Dogg? I'm not a big ice cream person, but apparently it's a popular ice cream. The tropical theme of the TSS product is accentuated by its packaging, which presents stylized images of pineapples and citrus fruits against a vibrant and eye-catching backdrop of yellow, orange, and pink colors. On November of 2022, Happy filed an application. So this, at least they're protecting their trademark. So they filed the first trademark called Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. In July of 2023, so the following year, they released it. The TSS product has been and remains widely available for sale in major grocery stores across the U.S. Okay, so they're in some big stores, Walmart, Kroger, and more. I don't go to Walmart. I go to Kroger from time to time. In Michigan, we got a store called Meijer, man. I'm more of a Meijer store. Walmart, man, they be slapping at Walmart. Every time I go to Walmart, I kind of feel at ease or unease. Yeah, a little bit unease. So since their inception, the Dr. Bombay products in the TSS mark have received considerably publicity and news coverage. The TSS mark is highly distinctive and enjoys a high degree of commercial strength because Boss Lady has used it regularly and continuously since 2023. So all this they're trying to do is lay out the fact that, hey, we have a trade. Not only do we filed for a trademark. They didn't say they got the trademark yet, but they said they have a trademark. They filed for a trademark on the term Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. And they saying it's a highly distinctive mark, which means that, hey, man, this thing, No, it's a non-distinctive mark is a mark that you're going to have tough times getting trademarked. However, distinctive marks is going to be a lot easier to get a trademark. That's essentially why they threw that in there. So let's kind of get back to it and see what else they're talking about. It says Boss Lady intends to continue using a mark in connection with the goods and services claimed by the TSS application. On March 11th, the TSS application was published. Okay. Typically, when that application publishes, that means that you are pretty much in alignment to get your trademark. I don't know why they just didn't say it because March 11th of 2025, that was 6 months ago. It should have issued into a trademark unless Edibles IP, they had to oppose the mark for it to not to be issued. So let's see what Edibles infringement allegations against Boss Lady. So this is the defendant. This is who Snoop Dogg is suing. Edible is a franchisor of stores, so it seems like they have some franchises. Edible markets its products through whatever. Okay, nearly 2 years after Boss Lady commenced using a mark, Edible sent a demand letter to Boss Lady by email. Look, this is interesting because they're saying that Edible sent a cease and desist letter to Snoop Dogg, even though Snoop Dogg didn't file for a trademark. Okay, this is getting a little interesting. Let me know if you guys are following me. This is starting to get interesting. So Edible's cover email explicitly charged Boss Lady with infringement. Not only did they send a cease and desist letter, they're saying, hey, you are infringing our Swizzle trademarks. So it seems like Edible IP has a trademark for Swizzle. Hey, this shit get interesting. I scan these lawsuits before I do them. I don't read them in detail. So a lot of this stuff I'm seeing for the first time. So Edible's alleged likelihood of confusion between the parties' marks and warned that Edible was prepared to vigorously enforce its valuable trademark rights. Okay, pretty much saying they're going to sue you if you don't stop. So in June of this year, Edible sent a second email to Happy, to essentially the Snoop Dogg, reinstating these demands, including the Boss Lady agrees to cease all uses of the mark and agrees to phase out all the TSS marks within 90 days. They won't sue them essentially. The settlement agreement. On July 9th, so the following month, Edible filed a notice of opposition with the T-Tab, opposing the TSS application. That's why it didn't issue. So typically, this is how it works. When you file a trademark and the USPTO says, okay, we didn't find anything we can go through. And this kind of helps Snoop Dogg because the USPTO, they examined at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. If they would have thought that the Swizzle marks infringe Snoop Dogg's marks, they would have said, hey, we can't register the mark because there's a likelihood of confusion. But they didn't do that. They essentially said that the mark is available to be trademarked. And it seems like Edible IP or the Edible companies, they filed an opposition pretty much because before it gets trademarked, the USPTO gives people 30 days to oppose the mark. And it seems like the Edible brands opposed the mark. That's why it still hasn't filed or issued as a trademark. So that's essentially where we are in the process. This is getting interesting. So in August of this year, so just last month, Happy filed a joint stipulation to extend his time to answer the notice of opposition until September, which the T-Tab agreed. It seems like they were trying to come up with a settlement agreement between Edible and Snoop Dogg. Despite Boss Lady's good faith efforts, Edible refused to withdraw or modify their settlement demand, placing Boss Lady at an ongoing apprehension of an imminent suit regardless of the disposition of the opposition. Look, this is a fancy way to say, hey, we did not agree, and therefore Snoop Dogg is suing them, which is interesting. I wonder why Edible didn't file the lawsuit since they initially sent the cease and demand letter. It seems like Snoop Dogg and Edible, they couldn't agree on anything. So Snoop Dogg sued Edible as opposed to Edible suing Snoop Dogg, especially since that Edible was sending Snoop Dogg them the cease and desist letters. Boss Lady's urgency was heightened by an email sent at the end of August. Look, they had a lot of exhibits, and I wasn't going to pull up all these exhibits because we would have been here for 2 hours. In that email, Edible admitted for the first time that there is a reasonable likelihood that they will expand the Swizzle product line to include ice cream, with such products being sold through a third-party retailers. That's stupid. That's stupid. Edible also asserted that the parties were at an impasse. Edible email conspicuously failed to address the fact that the ice cream and any related goods fall well outside the scope of the goods and services applied for. Look, this is what they're saying. And Edible, they messed up by doing this. Pretty much, yeah, because the whole thing, when you file for a trademark, you have to let the USPTO know what class you're trying to protect the trademark in. I say this all the time. It's no one size fits all. It's not like you get the term, in this case, I think tropical sherbet swizzle, you're protected in electronics, clothing, ice cream. That doesn't work like that. You have to let the USPTO know what classes you are going in. It seems like in this case, the USPTO or Snoop Dogg, when they filed for the trademark tropical sherbet swizzle, they had it in the ice cream category or the ice cream class, and it seems like the swizzle marks that's owned by Edible, the Edible brands, they're not operating in an ice cream brand. So that's why Snoop Dogg them is like, look it, they not even in where dealing with what we dealing with, that being ice cream. Matter of fact, they said in a cease and desist letter that they plan on going to it. This reminds me of that Menace Society movie when they had your boy in an interrogation room, like, you effed up, right? That's pretty much what Snoop Dogg attorneys is saying. They told us that they plan on going into this ice cream class. They're not in it. And I tell people all the time, man, it's a first come, first serve with the USPTO. So you guys are not in that class. We filed for this mark in the class that you guys are not in, supposedly going in. That's your fault. Let me know if y'all following me. I think so far Snoop Dogg them got a good, what's the name? They got a good some good arguments. Email, okay, we already read that. Due to Edible's refusal to retract its infringement allegations or offer a settlement framework that permit Boss Lady to maintain use of the mark or continue selling the ice cream, to say nothing of Edible's recent admission that intends to use the swizzle informative marks in connection with this manufacturing, marketing, and distributing, so forth and so on, so forth and so on with the ice cream. They had to sue him. So if, as Boss Lady fears, Edible follows through on its infringement threats and commences litigation against Boss Lady will be severely harmed due to the potential need to scrap its existing inventory, packaging, and ingredients already purchased for the product, to say nothing of disruption and harm to Boss Lady's business, as well as its valuable and subsisting relationship with major retailers across the U.S. and the end customers that have grown fond of its brand Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. This is Snoop Dogg mark, Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. It seems like apparently Edible brands just have a mark on trademarks on the term swizzle, but not for ice cream. These are the trademark applications. Hold on, and the notice of opposition, Edible alleged ownership of 6. So these are actually the marks that are owned by Edible IP. They have Swizzle for fresh fruits, Swizzle Sweetheart Banquet for essentially fruits again. It seems like all this is for fruits, man. Nothing for ice cream. Swizzle Banana, Swizzle Indulgence Trio, Swizzle Apples, Swizzle Berries. Everything is for fruits, not ice cream. True and attached copy, okay, whatever. None of the USPTO filings submitted by Edible in connection with these registrations events any use of Swizzle for frozen desserts, much less ice cream. That's the whole point Snoop Dogg is trying to say. Look at all these things that we just showed you guys. Snoop Dogg is like, oh, this is for fresh fruits. It's nothing for frozen custards. Is that the what's the name? Much less ice cream. I think Snoop Dogg has a point. Let me know if y'all guys agree with that. The Swizzle registration exclusively cover fresh fruit with various toppings. To the extent Edible ever used, I'm not sure what does not Edible just say Swizzle. I guess if Snoop Dogg them gets the trademark for Tropical Sherbet Swizzle, I still think that they'll be able to get Swizzle for ice cream, but I think they're trying to prevent Snoop Dogg them from getting Tropical Sherbet Swizzle. That's had to be my guess. So the Swizzle registration exclusively cover fresh fruit with various toppings. To the extent Edible ever used a Swizzle formative mark in connection with frozen confections or ice cream prior to 2023, such use was sporadic and minimal at best, and thus does not constitute bona fide use in commerce. The goods and services that Boss Lady has continuously offer under its TSS mark since 2023 or earlier are not similar to any goods and services that Edible has offered under the Swizzle marks. Okay, so forth and so on. Be infringing Boss Lady. So look at, not only are we not infringing their marks, if Edible was to commit such use, in other words, if they started using this Swizzle mark for ice cream edible would be infringing our trademark, Snoop Dogg is saying, which upon information and belief represents Edible's sole motivation behind his recent attempt to leverage its greater size and superior resources to force Boss Lady out of the relevant marketplace. Y'all got to listen to me on this one. Y'all, this happens all the time. Essentially, what Snoop Dogg is saying is, hey, they were not even thinking about ice cream, but now we come into our stuff. We come into the ice cream space with our tropical sherbet swizzle mark. Now they're essentially trying to keep us out of the space. So it seems like it's a little bit of gamesmanship going on that I see as an attorney. That's what Edible Brands is trying to do. They're saying like, look, we don't want to, we're trying to essentially dominate the space. We don't want nobody coming in there with anything that relates to swizzle. And as a result of this, we're going to try to force Snoop Dogg's. And again, this goes back to what I was saying about the Isaac Hayes comment. This is why it's important to protect your intellectual property. In this case, it's protected by way of a trademark because it can be a dirty game. And Edible Brands was trying to force Snoop Dogg them out the space, even though they weren't even operating in the space. They weren't selling ice cream. They were selling fresh fruits. All of a sudden, your boy Snoop Dogg them coming in with some ice cream that seemed like his hidden. Everybody like it. And Edible Brands, they trying to force them out of it. But good thing that Snoop Dogg and them, this is every time people tell me that this intellectual property stuff is, hey man, this stuff doesn't work. People are going to steal our stuff anyway. Snoop Dogg is showing y'all how to do it the right way. He's not only filing for a trademark application, he getting out in front of it. He said, okay, y'all want us to steal, y'all want us to settle, and by part of the, by that settlement, y'all saying to stop doing what we doing. We're not going to do that because we believe we in the right, and therefore we're going to sue y'all. So, man, you got to give it to Snoop Dogg because he actually standing up for the little guy in this case. Additionally, use of edible swizzle formative marks in connection with ice cream and sherbet products and other frozen confections would materially harm Boss Lady valuable rights into the TSS mark and the goodwill associated with it. So essentially, he's saying that, hey, there'd be edible would be infringing our trademarks. Despite multiple years of coexistence in the marketplace, Boss Lady is unaware of any instances of actual confusion among the consuming public with edible because of the marks at issue. The USPTO expressly weighed the potential for likelihood of confusion between the parties' marks and concluded that there's no such likelihood. So that's what Snoop Dogg is saying. Look we filed for the trademark application, and the USPTO said there was no likelihood of confusion. Man, I had to give Snoop Dogg them credit for that one. The USPTO expressly weighed the potential. We already read that. Given the parties' present uses of their respective marks, their marks are currently dissimilar with respect to the sight, sound, and meaning. See, I don't like this. I don't like this sentence because on one end, you trying to Snoop Dogg, y'all saying that if Swizzle them use their marks for ice cream, they infringing our marks. But then on the other end, y'all saying that it's dissimilar with respect to sight, sound, and meaning. So it kind of talking out the both sides of your mouth, in my opinion. I would have just deleted this one. Let's move on here. The parties' marks are presently used in connection with starkly distinct goods, with edible using the swivel marks in connection with the cut and dip fruit, and Boss Lady using the TSS mark solely with frozen confections, to wit, ice cream and sherbet. While Edible has sold and continues to sell frozen smoothies, frozen hot chocolates, and other frozen confections since at least 2017, Edible has not, upon information to believe, ever sold any such products under or in connection with any swizzle mark. So it seems like they're saying y'all selling this frozen stuff, but y'all not selling them with regard to swizzle. Y'all not using swizzle. Thanks to the fame and entrenched cultural presence of Snoop Dogg, the consuming public is keenly aware of the affiliation of the TSS mark with Boss Lady, eliminating any risk of confusion between the parties. Additionally, and for the reasons set forth below, Edible's uses of swizzle is generic for decorative drizzle syrup. I don't like that. I don't like that either. So yeah, I'm not gonna go off into kind of what all he's saying there. This one, hey, they tried to lay this one out. This was 38 pages, so this was pretty long. Edible's bad faith motives and his history of anti-competitive behavior and attempted monopoly. So it seems like, according to Snoop Dogg, hey, they known for doing this. They known for trying to kick people out of the space, even though they don't even use these the swizzle marks for ice cream. So, and I see the gamesmanship that the Edible Brands is playing, and it seems like your boy Snoop Dogg, they are not having it. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, man. We talked about a lot. We didn't even get off into the AI talk on Midjourney, Warner Brothers suing Midjourney for a copyright infringement. But we talked about a lot. We talked about Isaac Hayes and kind of his whole statement about kind of black people inventing everything. We talked about the interview of the week with Stormbag. Tesla and their new $1 trillion pay package to Elon Musk and how that could affect all of us over the next 10 years. We talk about the Buy It Now interview, or the Buy It Now pitch of the week. Shark Tank is coming back this week, y'all. So going forward, be on the lookout for those Shark Tank reaction videos. What else did we talk about? We talked about 50 Cent acquiring the rights of the classic Paid in Full. So be on the lookout, as he says it, to a new TV series that kind of builds off Paid in Full. So a lot of things that we talked about. And as I always talked about, make sure you protect that intellectual property, because this stuff is extremely important. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this live. Can't wait to get to you guys next week. I'm close. I got some products coming out, a physical product and a digital product. And I think that digital product is a couple weeks away. So be on the lookout. Please be on the lookout for that product, as it should be dropping here soon or within a couple weeks. Be on the lookout for the physical product. Your boy got some books. I don't just got the ebook, but I got some physical books, kid books coming out teaching IP. So be on the lookout for that. I have a lot of things that I have that I want to get out to you guys, and just have a lot of ideas and creations in my head. So just kind of be on the lookout, and please just support your boy. It's this stuff is valuable, and I'm just trying to kind of get it out into the hands of others so that they can kind of not find themselves, or just kind of really knowing their rights and knowing what they can and can't do, and just making sure they protect the intellectual property, because this AI is going to affect us all in the next 5 or 10 years. And I think that one of those things that you can protect yourself is really using AI to your advantage. And one of the ways you can do is create a product, create whatever service, use AI to help you leverage or run your business lean, make money, and not having to worry about your 9 to 5 getting cut short because they don't need you anymore. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I'll catch you guys next week. You guys take care. Peace.